Hello and welcome. This is AMECO Her English service and you're watching our daily updates live from the studio. I'm Gaila Damu. To stay with us. Intergovernmental Commission Chair said it is time for Ethio-Russia economic operators to expand interaction and diversification. Ethio-Russia Intergovernmental Commission Chairman and Russia's ambassador to Ethiopia, Yevgeny Terekin, underscored that it is time to have a substantive discussion about the expansion of opportunities for the interaction and diversification of cooperation between economic operators in the two countries, Abebe Burhani reports.
The 8th Ethio-Russian Intergovernmental Commission meeting, which aims at enhancing trade, investment, scientific and technical cooperation, as well as advancing and transforming people-to-people relations, kicked off yesterday. Speaking at the opening of the 3 days meeting on economic, scientific, technical and trade cooperation, the chairman said the relationship between Ethiopia and Russia is based on historical traditions of mutual respect and trust.
In recent years, Ethiopia has shown steady economic growth. Thanks to the economic and political reforms carried out by the country's authorities, improvement of the legal framework and introduction of best practices, there have been positive changes in the business climate in the country.
He pointed out that the potential of bilateral trade and economic ties is very high, but both Russian and Ethiopian businessmen do not yet know enough about opportunities in this regard. Ethio-Russia Intergovernmental Commission co-chairman and Innovation and Technology Minister Belete Molla said the people-to-people relation and strong ties between Russia and Ethiopia is bound by similarity of values, including commitment to their sovereignty. He noted that the trade and investment volume is much less than the expected level, despite a very cordial and historical friendship that the two countries are enjoying, adding that the two countries have a tremendous potential for trade and investment cooperation. It is then right time to convert opportunities to realities.
The economic rejuvenations that have been taking place in Ethiopia are based on homegrown economic policy and massive reforms in all fronts. Ethiopia is now on the right track to achieve its vision and sustainable and green economic growth. In this context, I wish to invite Russian investors to take part in our development endeavors.
According to the minister, Ethiopia's potential in manufacturing, mining, energy, agriculture and pharmaceutical sectors will provide ample opportunity for Russian businesses. Belete stated that Ethiopia acknowledges the Russian Federation as a partner of all times of national needs, particularly in the efforts to maintain Ethiopia's independence, sovereignty and territorial integrity. Russia's head of Federation Agency on Mineral Resources, Evgeny Petrov, Ethiopia remains one of Russia's important partners in Africa and aims to increase the volume of bilateral trade and diversify it qualitatively. According to him, the Commission will discuss prospects in the fields of energy, geology and management of mineral resources and agriculture, information and communication, healthcare and education.
The International Criminal Police Organization Interpol said that it will support Ethiopia's endeavor to fight against terrorism in the East African region. Burhan Warqina tells us more.
The 24th Eastern Africa Police Chiefs Cooperation Organization General Meeting is underway in Addis Ababa, deliberating on trans-border crimes, human trafficking, illegal arms trafficking and drug trafficking, as well as security challenges affecting the region. Approached by Ina, head of branch Interpol Regional Counter-Terrorism Node ESAF, and Europe Daniel Angel Damjanovic, who is participating in the general meeting, said the prevention of transnational terrorism is mission of Interpol. Praising Ethiopia's outstanding role in fighting terrorism in East African region, Damjanovic pledged that Interpol will give necessary support to the nation's endeavors in this regard. As the world's largest police organization, Interpol has 195 member countries. He indicated that one of the anti-terrorist continental centers is located in Nairobi, Kenya.
One of the nodes has been set up in Nairobi to work closely with the national police units, but also with immigration, also with customs, and also with our regional partners such as AMECO, to promote information exchange, to coordinate operational activities against counterterrorism, and also to build capacity in the region. And this is something that we have been doing over the past 5 years, and really looking forward to more cooperation and events such as the AMECO AGM that bring agencies together is a great platform and great opportunities for us to work collaboratively on combating terrorism in the region.
In this regard, he said, Interpol is working in the East African region where there is a threat of terrorism in partnership with pertinent customs, immigration policy and other institutions of countries in the region. The ongoing 24th Eastern Africa Police Chiefs Cooperation Organization taking place in Addis Ababa has created opportunity to exchange views with several pertinent institutions, he added. Interpol will strengthen coordination with East African countries in fighting against terrorism and cross-border crimes, the head affirmed.
We've conducted a number of operations over the past few years. Several operations were border control operations where we target the movement of terrorists using porous borders. So we work with the countries closely to provide Interpol tools and capabilities for them to be able to cross-check those entities and identify terrorists, identify other criminals. We also support countries' high-priority counterterrorism operations by providing technical support, and we will continue to do so. This is a very unique role for Interpol, and something that we should further encourage countries to do, to work with us closely and also look for additional opportunities.
He also mentioned about the several measures taken over the past 5 years in collaboration with customs, immigration, police and other institutions of the countries in the region to foil the acts of terrorists, indicating that countries of the region shared their experiences in their fight against terrorism at the 24th Eastern Africa Police Chiefs Cooperation Organization meeting. He said that Ethiopia's experience is admirable. Hence, the head stated that Interpol will strengthen its support and cooperation to the countries, including Ethiopia, to enhance their capability of implementing anti-terrorist enforcement and help them exchange experiences.
Certainly explore opportunities and use this time, the AMECO AGM, to discuss opportunities with Ethiopia. Ethiopia has one of the biggest or the largest airports, a lot of passengers coming through. As we have seen from presentations, there is a solid level of threat here as well. So we will work closely with Ethiopia over the next 12 months to look at opportunities, joint opportunities, and I know that Ethiopian agencies are open to it. So I hope we can work very closely together and achieve some good results in Ethiopia as well.
Ethiopia is one of the countries in the region facing a threat of terrorism, the head said, stressing the need to intensify efforts in preventing the threat. According to him, Interpol has been working with Ethiopia in the fight against terrorism. The organization will continue its partnership with Ethiopia in a strengthened manner, he added.
Political party called on the government of Ethiopia to take urgent action to stop the violence which is being unleashed against civilians in Walaga, Oromia regional state. Modomluye has the details.
Not Party, the Ethiopian People's Unity Party and the All Ethiopian Unity Party issued a joint press statement regarding the recent attacks on civilians in East Walaga, Oromia regional state. The political parties stressed that the victims of the violence in the last 4 years are mainly ethnic Amharas. Nevertheless, the Oromos who have been opposing the Sheni militants, a terrorist group according to the House of People's Representatives, are also victims of the attack. In a joint press statement, the parties called on the government to immediately stop the brutal violence unleashed against civilians. The parties reminded that the Oromia regional state has the responsibility to protect the peace and security of the residents in the region. They also reiterated that the government should take action against officials who are allegedly supporting the terrorist group. Moreover, they have asked for explanation from the federal government on the issue. And the media and civic organizations should do their part to end the massacre. The press statement stated the Wulaga area should be governed under a command post until lasting peace is established. It was a recent phenomenon that hundreds of ethnic Amharas have been massacred in Tole Kabale of Gimbi Warada in West Wulaga zone. Just 18 days after the gruesome Tole massacre, another mass killing was committed in Kalamulaga zone in Oromia on July 4, 2022, claiming hundreds of lives. According to eyewitness reporters, Oele Sheni, the perpetrator of the mass killings, is still unleashing terror and violence, killing and displacing civilians in Wulaga, Oromia regional state.
Dr. Jonas Adaye, Commissioner of the National Dialogue Commission, said the peace agreement signed in South Africa between the Ethiopian government and TPLF has opened the door for conducting pre-national dialogue activities. He interested Ethiopians to repeat the active participation they are doing to the Renaissance Dam, the implementation of the peace agreement, and the success of the National Consultation Forum. Belete Tarekeng takes up the story.
The evil-minded and self-centered politicians and conspirators have made Ethiopians look at each other with hatred instead of caring for each other so as to fulfill their hidden agendas. The sense of alienation and trade created in their motherland is an obstacle to move forward as a country, and the government of Ethiopia is in the process of holding national dialogue activities to set a lasting solution. Dr. Jonas Adaye, Commissioner of the National Dialogue Commission and Associate Professor of Peace Study in Addis Ababa University, said to Amhara Media Corporation that the peace accord signed in between the government of Ethiopia and TPLF has unlocked the gate for conducting pre-national dialogue activities.
Peace agreement sparks the hope. To be honest, it ignites imagination. It awakens those people who were depressed by being desperate, losing hope. That is fundamental answer to the question, to be honest. You know, this peace is a positive force. So the very agreement itself immediately gives people hope for life. And most importantly, we were to go to the third country so as to engage people from Tigray, such as Nairobi or Djibouti or somewhere else. But now it has paved the way for us to go straight to Meghalaya rather than going somewhere else. So that is also another, impetus, i.e. encouragement for us to engage. So peace agreement definitely opened up our hope, and I can say it is an indication of laying foundation for sustainable peace in Ethiopia.
Dr. Jonas stressed that Africans have confirmed that they are capable of solving their problems independently. Likewise, pre-national dialogue activities are being undertaken carefully, and it doesn't fall under external influence.
To use the old adage, no man is an island, which means in modern English, no person is an island. We all are related with each other, and no country is also an island. Africa also are related with the West as well as with the East. We do business together at the same time. We are not really an island. It is impossible for any country to be alone. Cooperation is very important because Africa's Ubuntu philosophy is I am, because we are. We think that communal thinking rather than individualized way. I know everything. My way is super. That's a dangerous one. That really led the whole world into catastrophe and chaos. But the best way out definitely is we are smart. We are better together. That is the philosophy now emerging. This togetherness. You don't expect unipolar world. Superpower. No, we are expecting now new world order emerging, multipolar world. Economic might such as China coming up, to be honest. Not only masterminded by the West, but also others are to come together and work together. So African solution then is definitely a contribution from Africa as well. We're also expecting Africa's voice in the UN Security Council shortly.
Dr. Enas explained that Ethiopians have shown the power of unity in the victory of Adwa and in the construction of the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam project. Hence, he entrusted Ethiopians to repeat their active participation for the implementation of the peace agreement and the success of the national dialogue.
Humbly requesting the Ethiopian people to show the commitment they showed for the Great Ethiopian Renaissance Dam. That commitment must be out there again. We like to see the same commitment for the success of Ethiopian National Dialogue Commission. All professionals, farmers, pastoralists across our country as well, they all really, as usual, hand in hand, let's rise and support the Ethiopian National Dialogue Commission. And don't forget the prayer. Prayer has transcendental power to change, to make the impossible possible. So we also respectfully ask our priests, our spiritual leaders as a whole, to pray for us incessantly, non-stoppingly as well, until we see the dawn of Ethiopia, this darkness, this distorted image into bright image.
Elites were preaching and carrying out distractions and operations on people, and this has to be stopped. According to him, the opportunity has to be given for the people since they are capable of settling problems, and this is the main aim of the national dialogue.
National Disaster Risk Management Commission reveals that 95% were affected populations received emergency food aid. According to the National Disaster Risk Management Commission, the government of Ethiopia and partner organizations have succeeded in providing 95% of the total demand for food in the 3 conflict-affected regions during the past 30 days. Fukradi Zaudu tells us more.
Briefing journalists, Disaster Risk Management Commissioner Shifarao Taklamaram said that over 134,948 metric ton of food supplies has been distributed. As the government of Ethiopia has been consistent with its policy in ensuring sustainable peace and resolving issues in civilized ways, it has provided an enhanced humanitarian aid in line with the Pretoria, South Africa Peace Agreement. The commissioner revealed that the number of people who need emergency food assistance in the regions affected by the war in Tigray, Amhara, and Afar is about 8.4 million. Of this, some 7.9 million people have received emergency food assistance. Shifra underscored that the government of Ethiopia is very concerned about citizens that require humanitarian aid and other services. As a result, it is responding vigorously and ensuring unfettered access in all areas. In addition to emergency food assistance, the commissioner stated that 3,239 metric tons of nutritious food was provided by the government and humanitarian partners to 71,978 vulnerable members of the community in the past months. Moreover, non-food humanitarian aid such as fuel, medicine, medical equipment, emergency shelter, educational and protection materials were provided for Tigray region. Commissioner Shifra finally stressed that the government's move to unfettered access demonstrates its commitment to recovery, rehabilitation, and reconstruction of the conflict-affected regions.
The Information Network Security Administration disclosed that it has developed local social media platforms and is waiting for the investment of the private sector in infrastructure development. The Information Network Security Administration Director General Salomon Soka told Ethiopian news agency that software has been developed for domestic use of social media. Private sector investors are encouraged to invest in the infrastructure and apply the software. We have already developed the software. It needs infrastructure investment to be used, and we are not going to cover the infrastructure cost from our budget. We have our own social media, the Director General said. The software will serve us to locally develop social media platforms. As the infrastructure requires large investment, INSA encouraged the private sector to invest on it. The infrastructure requires big investment, and we encourage the private sector to engage, including banks and other investors. If they invest in the infrastructure, we will then give them the software so that our people can use the domestically developed technology. Has held us back to is the infrastructure, which needs huge investment. Ethiopian Shipping and Logistics Services Enterprise said peace agreement will help improve logistics sector, says Ethiopian Shipping and Logistics Services Enterprise CEO. The peace agreement between the government of Ethiopia and the TPLF will help to improve the logistics sector by ensuring goods to reach safely at every corner of the country, according to Ethiopian Shipping and Logistics Services Enterprise. Following the agreement, citizens living in northern Ethiopia have started to breathe the air of peace, and demands for the provision of infrastructure are being addressed. Ethiopian Shipping and Logistics Services Enterprise Chief Executive Officer Roba Megersa told Ethiopian news agency that peace is vital to provide transport and logistics services across the country. The conflict that has been going on in Ethiopia over the past years has hampered the activities of the organization's transport and logistics sector, he said. He stressed that peace is essential to deliver transport service to various places. Peace is crucial for development work, the CEO noted, adding that we are ready to fulfill our responsibility for the development of Ethiopia. Thus, the peace agreement will create a favorable opportunity for the implementation of the development works the enterprise plans to carry out throughout the country. According to him, the enterprise will also take advantage of the opportunity brought by the peace agreement and engage in construction works. When we proceed to news beyond borders, the UN humanitarian coordinator for Somalia warned on Tuesday the country was undergoing a catastrophic emergency due to the most severe drought in the nation's history. Speaking during a joint meeting of the League of Arab States and the United Nations, Adam Abdelmoula said Somalia was suffering from its fifth consecutive failed rainy season, with a sixth failed season predicted for next year. He outlined the situation, which has left nearly half of the Somalian population affected by drought. He said approximately 7.8 million Somalis, and that is nearly half of its population, have been affected by the drought, and nearly 1.3 million people have been displaced since January 2021. He added 6.7 million people were expected to face high levels of acute food insecurity. A rare famine declaration could be made soon, the first significant one anywhere in the world since Somalia's famine a decade ago. As the world is gripped by food insecurity, Somalia, a country of 15 million people, shaking off its past as a failed state, can be considered the end of the line. The nation of proud pastoralists that has survived generations of drought now stumbled amid several global crises descending at once. Rwanda's foreign minister has accused the international community of exacerbating the crisis in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo, plagued by armed groups, after the United States urged Kigali to stop any supposed support for the rebels. Brown Workna presents African News reports.
In a Sunday call with Rwandan President Paul Kagame, US Secretary of State Antonio Blinken made it clear that all external support to non-state armed groups in the DRC must end. Fighting in eastern DRC between government forces and rebels from the M23, a former Tutsi rebel, has highlighted tensions with neighboring Rwanda, which the DRC accuses of encouraging the militia. Kigali denies any involvement. In a press release published Monday evening, the Rwandan Minister of Foreign Affairs Benicet Bruta affirmed that Paul Kagame and Antonio Blinken had good exchanges, but that differences remain on the understanding of the problem. The erroneous approach of the international community continues to exacerbate the problem, continued the head of Rwandan diplomacy. Rwanda has repeatedly blamed the crisis in eastern DRC on authorities in Kinshasa and accused the international community of turning a blind eye to its supposed support for the democratic forces for the liberation of Rwanda, a movement Rwandan Hutu rebels, some of whom were involved in the 1994 Tutsi genocide in Rwanda. Presented as a threat by Kigali, the existence and violence of this militia justified past Rwandan interventions in Congolese territory. Venicet Bruta asserted that Rwanda's security problems must be taken into account, continuing that the M23 should not be equated with Rwanda. A November 23 summit in Angola ordered a ceasefire followed by the withdrawal of rebels from positions captured in recent months, but no withdrawal has been observed to date. After a 5-day truce, heavy arms fighting resumed last week in eastern DRC between the M23 and the Congolese army, which accused the rebels of massacring around 300 civilians. The M23 rejected these accusations and called for an independent investigation.
You're watching AMECO Haber English service, and now let's take a look at the foreign exchange rates. We apologize for not presenting you this information, and that's all the news we have for today. I'm Gayla Damu. Thanks for watching and stay tuned with the rest of our programs.